So this is a very fascinating session. Barbara Messing is the Chief Marketing Officer of TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is a brand that we follow very, very, very closely on Skift for reasons which should be obvious. It's the world's largest travel content company, huge, giant. If you search for anything in travel, as you know well, it usually ranks above the actual hotel sites at times. So as a consumer, you cannot escape it. It's always there, everywhere. So one of the reasons we wanted Barbara to be here is to understand, as you're looking at a brand that's so pervasive, how do you think about what's the next phase for reviews? How do you use data to understand? I mean, you have data that nobody has in the travel industry from just the intent part of it. I think Google probably is going to be the only one, but not as structured as you have, just by the intent part of it. Has the battle for online reviews been won? And by that I mean there was years and years and years of fight of the hospitality industry fighting against online reviews in general. Has that battle been won?
Great question. So we started TripAdvisor 14 years ago, and it seems hard to believe, but 14 years ago, the only other review sites that were really around was Amazon for books. And so reviews back then were very limited, and for hotels suddenly to be receiving real feedback from guests was a little bit unusual. And so in early days, I think hotels were resistant. Not all, some embraced it, but some were. I think over the years, what hotels have found is that TripAdvisor is as useful a tool for them as it is for our consumers. So a lot of great hotels use TripAdvisor on a daily basis for feedback on how their property is doing, how's housekeeping doing, how's the front desk handling their guests. Many hotels that are at the very top of our popularity index, which is our ranking of how hotels are popular within a geography in a city, they have daily meetings where they review their TripAdvisor reviews. And staff members who are called out as being excellent are actually recognized at those meetings or put up on a bulletin board. So those hotels realize it's a great feedback tool, and then they realize that the things that some customers don't like about their hotel are absolutely improvable. There was just an article in the New York Times, I think about a week ago, where when folks are renovating their hotels, they're actually using reviews to understand what the key things to do are to fix the hotels, or even doing new builds. Yeah. So I think that, I guess the last thing I'd say is folks realize it's an amazing marketing tool. So it's free. And when people are researching a trip to Paris, they start at TripAdvisor, or researching a trip to London. And very small hotels who have absolutely no marketing budget and would never be in a position to get in front of 280 million travelers suddenly can be front and center purely on their service, their value, and what they offer a guest. So I think it's been won in the sense that they recognize reviews are here to stay, they're ubiquitous, and now I think the best hospitality businesses embrace it and use it for good.
So, as you mentioned, consumers have obviously, embraced reviews. They've been doing it for years now, to the extent now that environments like TripAdvisor and Yelp have become overwhelming in terms of the number of reviews. You go on a hotel anywhere here in the city, and thousands of reviews for a single hotel. What do you think is the next? And we had a presentation from Sam Shank, who's talked about the rise of curation in travel. Do you think curation and reviews, what's the next frontier there? I know what some of the things you do is reader tips, not reader tips, reviewer tips you have.
We do have reviewer tips where we allow reviewers to say, ask for room 212 because there's a great view, or avoid
summaries of
specialty tips for hotels or restaurants. I think the next frontier, you're right, we have so many reviews. We have 180 million reviews and opinions, right? It's overwhelming. And for hotels, how do we get folks the content that's relevant for them in front of them? So we've done a number of things around that. The first thing we've done is we've partnered with Facebook. So if you've had a friend that has stayed in that hotel or a friend of a friend, then we put those reviews first. Right. And so that's very nice when you go to a place you've never been before, to Singapore, and you see, hey, my friend has actually stayed at this hotel. It gives me a little extra knowledge about the hotel. The other thing we do is we let you sort. So we have lots of filters where you can sort by couples, family travel, singles. So there's a number of parameters you can sort by to get to a traveler that's most like you. And then the last thing is we've just introduced over the last couple months tags, so you can actually personalize your search results by attributes that are much broader than I'm a single, I'm a family traveler, I'm a business traveler. So, a whole range of attributes, boutique, pool, free Wi-Fi, you name it. There's probably 25 attributes you can sort the lists by.
But then the challenge then becomes even there when you take it to a small form factor, mobile. And your app does very well in tablet as well as mobile environments. There, I would think that curation plays even a bigger role, even to the extent that online obviously doesn't play.
We believe that it's not our role to curate for our travelers, right? We have 280 million unique visitors come every month. They are from all over the world. They have a wide range of budgets, travel interests. And so for us to actually presume anything for that massive population, you can't curate the world. And so what we try to do is get the most relevant content in front of them through those filters, and also design the site in such a way, and mobile in such a way, that they can quickly get to the reviews that are most helpful for them.
Essentially, it will always be tech-driven.
It will always be tech-driven, yes. We have no plans to change that. The other thing we do, though, to help people sort through the reviews is we obviously have every attribute we can tell you about a reviewer. So we have how many reviews they've written, where they're from, how many helpful votes they've received. And so you can also see the depth of the travel that this reviewer has done. And I've anecdotally heard lots of people who look at our reviews and say, I look for people who stay in similar hotels to me and have done a lot of reviews, and I triangulate on where they're from. And so people have their own system.
Let's talk about data, and you have so much, I mentioned earlier, so much intent data. It's almost scary the amount of data you have on travelers, which I'm sure everybody here would love to have. Will you, if they ask you, will you give it to them?
Well, we like to use our data on the marketing side to deliver, really relevant content to folks, whether it's through any of our marketing channels, whether it's through search or through social or through email. I mean, we try to use our content for making the travel experience better for our community. And we also use our data to create these really great lists called our Traveler's Choice Program, which are the best of the best around the world. So I don't think we think of our data as, we're not an Equifax or an Axiom where we think we're gonna package up the data and resell it. But certainly—
Can you license it so that we can build a large business out of it? We can sell it for you if you want.
We can talk after this if you got some great ideas. But not, currently we really believe, the value of TripAdvisor is providing this incredible resource on how to plan the perfect trip anywhere in the world. And we're sort of headfirst on that mission.
You mentioned using data to create content, which is, you guys are very good at it. The PR team that you have are really good at putting out these lists, which work obviously really well. We write about some of these studies as well. Talk about, we've talked a bunch about content marketing as the way brands are now marketing themselves. As you're thinking of TripAdvisor, that's almost like a utility brand. And the challenge for you, and you've done what you've started doing over the last years, create a TV campaign that you want to sort of, our understanding is to break through some of that and create a brand beyond just what people see online. How do you achieve that through content marketing and then through TV advertising?
So on the content marketing side, we are very lucky in that we are a UGC brand, right? So we don't have to create stories around being authentic or being of the people. Oreo Cookies is an amazing brand, and they have to create social virality through being extremely clever around creating content with their community. We're lucky that our community does it for us. And our job is to just make sure that we're packaging up the most interesting insights that they're bringing and then deliver them out broadly. So, we use data, again, on our list, but on our review collection efforts. Really, every aspect of TripAdvisor is driven by data. We did feel with TV, though, it's an amazing forum to tell a different brand story or a more evolved brand story. And the one thing we've heard through the years is once people know about TripAdvisor, they can't imagine not using it to plan their trips because you have this incredible access to the real deal. Right. And so it's that difference maker in making a trip really great, right? Having that inside scoop from real travelers. So how do we communicate that story to all the people in the world who, believe it or not, don't know TripAdvisor? We have, 250 million people who come to the site, but there's actually still a lot of people who don't have TripAdvisor at the top of mind. And so we wanted to use TV as a way to get TripAdvisor to be, top of mind for everyone who's planning a trip.
You've recently started expanding beyond hotels, obviously. Viator was bought recently. What piece of the travel industry beyond hotels do you think TripAdvisor can own well as a brand?
I believe we can be very successful in all aspects of trip planning and on the trip and post-trip. So I think that we think about all of the elements of how people travel and what makes those experiences great, what makes a trip memorable. When you go to a city, you remember your hotel, you remember the great cab driver who gave you the inside scoop, you remember this amazing meal you had. And so a trip is more than just a hotel. It's a good part of it, but there's so much more that makes it a memorable, authentic experience. And so we know that we have an opportunity to do what we did with hotel in a much deeper way in all of our travel categories. And we feel like there's a ton of opportunity there. And the La Fourchette acquisition we just did in Europe and La Fourchette is a restaurant company that helps you book tables at local restaurants. We believe that's helpful to consumers who are planning a trip to Europe who want to find a table and eat a great meal. And attractions, the Viator acquisition, same thing. Making it easy for people to do the things they already want to do to have a great trip.
It's an interesting, so I wrote this article actually, I think last year, about TripAdvisor's habits of buying small companies, tiny companies that have either failed or they come into the company then, and have not integrated it, very kept it separate. Talk about the strategy there from a brand perspective of why you don't integrate these smaller companies that you buy.
We don't always not integrate smaller companies that we buy. So some companies that we buy, we do end up integrating more closely. It really depends what the objectives are of the acquisition. And from a brand perspective, we have an amazing company, for example, called Cruise Critic. I don't know if any of you are cruisers, but Cruise Critic is an incredibly great resource. And sometimes we wonder, does it make sense to have a Cruise Critic on TripAdvisor? And it actually doesn't, because Cruise Critic is solving a very specific need for cruisers. It's doing a great job doing it. And so there's really no reason to integrate that company with TripAdvisor. They know what they're doing, and they're doing a great job, and it would just be a distraction.
And is the Viator acquisition complete now?
It is.
It is. What are the plans with it? Because the privacy breach just happened, which obviously was a huge thing. As a CMO, and so this is a larger question, a lot of these kind of breaches are happening all across the industry. From a brand perspective, how do you manage it?
Fundamentally, we believe in transparency and communicating quickly what we know, and that's how we deal with every aspect of our brand, which is transparency, being out there with consumers immediately with messages about explaining any aspect of travel or any aspect of our business. So same principles, act quickly and be transparent.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the Viator, they bought recently, I think 1.6 million accounts were hacked, which they got access to all the consumer financial information.
I think it was less than that. It was less than that. There were some emails on most.
That's the context.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have time for questions.
Thank you. Yeah, elaborating on the Viator acquisition, I was curious that on the hotel side of things, TripAdvisor always partner with all the possible booking engines, from Booking.com, Hotels.com, and so forth. And then it left to the consumer to decide whether they wanted to book a hotel with one specific player or the other. After you purchased Viator, you terminated your relationship with Get Your Guide. Was just a coincidence, or on the activity side of things, you plan to have a different approach of just having one player rather than all the players?
So the question, in summary, the question is?
Whether basically you're going to have a lot of partners on the activity side of things like you do on hotels, or just Viator as the only provider of that kind of content?
So we're early days in the attraction strategy, and so I really can't comment on our future strategy on that. I mean, our strategy will always be making sure that consumers have the best access to information and making sure that consumers have choice. And so I wouldn't anticipate that attractions would be different, but it's early days.
Hi, I'm in the hotel business. Surprise, surprise. Has there ever been any internal conversations with the rating systems being flipped, similar to Uber drivers being able to rate their passengers?
Well, we actually have the management response tool, which is a way for any hotelier to leave a response to any review. And that really is essentially the opportunity for hoteliers to tell their side of the story of what they think happened, and also comment on why they think the review is valid or not valid. So I think management response was kind of our answer to hoteliers also having a voice.
All right, well, we are out of time, and if anybody wants to speak to Barbara, she's out there. All right,
thank you.